Thank you, Ian, for your introduction. I just want to talk today about best practices for implementing a government cloud. My name is Ben Roberts. I'm Chief Technology and Innovation Officer at Liquid Intelligent Technologies. So I'll jump straight in. I think, first of all, when you're considering government cloud, the first thing to think about is the services that you are intending to deliver. And we had a recent visit in Kenya from Kirsty Kalilade, who is the former president. She's just stepping down, but she's former president of Estonia. I think she just finished in this week, actually. But she came to Kenya and she talked a lot about some of the things Estonia has been doing and the digital identities and other things that have been happening on Estonia. But they were very much, despite being a small country, very much a world leader in digital government and being a digital country, to the extent you can even get a citizenship, online and without having ever visited Estonia. So, one thing that she's been quoted as saying, she says, Estonia offers more transparency and less bureaucracy. Estonia has a competitive advantage today because our society is digital. And this is achieved by having such services as e-government, but running on government clouds. I think one has to think about what it is we're trying to achieve, and it really has to start with service delivery, with the citizens being at the heart of service delivery. Government is there to deliver services for the citizens of its nation. But let's start, first of all, with the workers. So government is a large employer in the country and has many people working in government departments, civil servants, teachers, hospitals. All of these are employed by the government. If you're considering a government, if you're a government cloud, if you want it to be successful, you have to consider your employees, your workforce first, because they're the ones that are going to use your government cloud and use your government services. Now, I've got a much familiar picture I've used in earlier presentations here, but more now than ever before is the time that we can, enable our workforce with, with cloud-based digital services. Certainly, we look at companies that in Kenya that were further advanced down their paths of digital transformation. They were able to adapt to working from home much faster. And companies like ourselves, Safaricom and others, they even sent their call center staff home. Everybody's been working from home and having, using cloud services to be able to do their job from anywhere. Government, not so much. I mean, government, I think people have been having to go to offices to use systems that are based in the office when they could have been working from home. But, if we can make our systems and cloud-based systems flexible enough that our employees are going to be able to use them, and it's going to make them more productive, make them more agile in their work, and be able to use ICT to make their life easier and not make their life more difficult. Systems shouldn't be making our employees more difficult. So services that government offers cloud-based services, consider the people that are going to be using it first of all, and how to make them more productive in their work. And I think that's it's a key. But the next thing, when we look at government cloud-based services, most government cloud-based services are providing services to citizens. Kenya has been leading in some of these areas in terms of the regional maturity of Kenyan e-government, and e-citizen is a well-known service. iTax as well has been very much around for a few years, and the adoption has been picking up. A recent digital economy report from Dalberg reported that 49% of Kenyans are aware of e-government services. 55% use those services, and some people do need a bit of help. They have to go to Huduma centers, but it means that we're seeing increasing adoption. I know that Kenya Revenue Authority this year reported the highest number of taxpayers ever, 5 million taxpayers, up from about 4 million the previous year, because they were able to say that, by using the iTax and registering online, making things easier for citizens to access government services. So, start with who you're trying to target, employees or citizens, but also, why not businesses? So this slide I have here, this is from HMRC website, Humanities Revenue Collection Service in the United Kingdom. But it's talking about how the HMRC APIs are working. So they have different systems that are there within the tax department for collecting VAT, PAYE, corporate tax, other types of taxes. Have done a certain amount of integration layers, but providing APIs for private companies who are taxpayers to be able to use these systems and make it easier for people to pay tax. So whether it's an employer paying for its PAY for its employees, or you're paying a business tax or that or anything else, by using APIs, by using third-party software, whether this be your ERP systems or your or specific tax accounting software, by exposing APIs to private sector companies, making it easier to use those government services that businesses have to use. So there's a number of online services that are provided by government of Kenya, which are used by companies in private sector, and Tax is one, business registration services and others. Just make it easy, easy for people to use. And this was mentioned, back to my friend, the president of Estonia. She also mentioned this when she was in Kenya. She talked about how Estonia had adopted its digital identity, but what had made it successful was the way that the private sector adopted this and were able to then build on things like identity and then build digital services. This is what really can enhance growth of the digital economy. As I've been a big supporter of Huduma number, and I think it's I'm hoping to see that it will be rolled out soon. A lot of data collection has been done and some cards have been issued. But by having such systems as this, a digital identity, if we use these same techniques, exposing APIs, then whilst securing and protecting data, keeping data sensitive, but being able to open up APIs that will enable companies to authenticate somebody is who they are using a digital identity. This is what's happening in the Estonian model. By doing this, then it's going to help e-commerce. It's going to help all sorts of businesses from being able to grow and prosper and grow their digital businesses. National addressing scheme is another key, and then there's a pilot going underway now in Nairobi to put in a new national addressing scheme. But again, if this can be exposed by APIs to companies doing deliveries, the licensed couriers who are doing delivery for e-commerce and for postal services, that can again make a more efficient digital economy and improve our digital services in many ways. By doing this, it empowers ISVs, independent software vendors, to create innovation on top of government platforms, government cloud-based platforms. So I think it's a key consideration for what are the services you're trying to achieve. It's about your employees, about your citizens, about the businesses that you want to grow and grow a digital economy sector. But in order to achieve this, let's get back to basics and talk about infrastructure. What kind of infrastructure do I need? Where do I put my infrastructure? What about the connectivity challenges and all of these things? And I've been using this little picture on the left here for some number of years now, but I like to bring it out. I've refreshed it now with a new logo, with Liquid Intelligent Technologies having rebranded. But I've been saying that Africa is cloud ready since 2015, and I say that from the experience of living in Kenya. I lived in Kenya since 2013. When I first arrived, there were too many network outages, I guess, of links from the subsea landing to Nairobi. To be able to reliably use cloud-based services, applications were a bit clunky with latencies and everything else. But some things happened around 2015 up to around there. A lot of resilience was built into networks in Kenya. We're having multiple fiber routes from Nairobi to Mombasa and then into Uganda and other places. So we're seeing, a very resilient backbone. We're seeing data centers in Nairobi having 100% uptime in terms of their connectivity to the rest of the world and to Mombasa and other places. Then there was a convergence of the fact that applications were becoming easier to use. Things like you know, the Microsoft suite of products, Office and other things were using HTTPS, were working better over higher latency links. So, you know, we've been able to use cloud services in Kenya, having reliable networks to our businesses, to our offices, to our homes, you know, since around then, but it's really accelerated in the last couple of years. You know, we've had, you know, coronavirus and people using more cloud-based calling, and even this call I'm now is using a cloud-based webinar platform. And I'm doing this from London, you know, and it's going to be, you know, so it's, we're seeing the complete readiness is there. Data centers are in the country, so we have a choice of, you know, being able to use data centers in Kenya, being able to use data centers in the rest of the world, and elsewhere in Africa, or in Europe or North America. You know, having quite a lot of diversity in choice. But you do need to think a bit carefully about, you know, where, if you're building your own data centers or building your own government cloud, you know, you do need to take advantage of positioning in the places where the resilient networks are. So we see that, you know, Nairobi and Mombasa connected by very resilient networks. Along the way between Nairobi and Mombasa, we have the government data center in Konza City. So it's taking advantage of having that network resilience between the two major cities, you know, in the country. But, you know, you wouldn't necessarily want to go and put a, you know, a government data center in Lamu, for instance, where you have a spur, and you could have a risk of, you know, a network being lost in a sort of more remote part of the country. So, you know, thinking about your strategy of your infrastructure is key, and it's key to also put your government services onto the internet exchanges of the country. So internet exchanges is where all of the operators come and connect into and peer with, you know, access networks, peer with content networks. And in Kenya, we have internet exchange points in Mombasa, in East Africa Data Center in Nairobi. You know, there, even if you have a government cloud and it's being in another location, it's important to put all of the services that are on the government cloud onto the internet exchange point, peer with all the major operators so that people can access the government cloud services. But coming to that, you know, a next important strategy of government cloud is to use partnerships. You know, don't try and do it all yourself. Governments will not be able to achieve replicating their own parallel infrastructure for everything. It isn't the best strategy. You end up doing a lot of capital expenditure, a lot of operational expenditure. The basis for using cloud is around sharing resources. It's around cutting your costs by lowering your energy costs, lowering your data center costs, lowering your server costs by sharing resources, and that's the economics of cloud. So, you know, by using hybrid infrastructures, using some public cloud, using some private cloud, it enables governments to keep their data secure. In, you know, particularly sovereign data they regard as being important. Keep that in your own private cloud infrastructure, but you can still leverage the power of public cloud, and also work with, you know, telcos, local telcos on the last mile connectivity. You know, your government offices all need to access your government cloud if they're users of this. But you know, many of the buildings where government offices are sit, you know, they're already connected by private sector operators. Governments don't need to run their entire network for all government offices. You know, this is not the norm in the world. You know, normally the local telcos would be the ones providing services to government to do that. But you can encourage local innovation and applications. We don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel by, you know, trying to create your own, you know, every type of service. You know, so some services are more generic. I talked about productivity, things like using Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, and other, you know, other types of productivity services. You know, they're there and they can be used for employee productivity. But when it comes to more bespoke applications, you know, governments can create their own applications, their own software, use local innovators to do this. Also, if governments are, you know, adopting and using public cloud, it can also be conducive to those public cloud providers coming into the country and investing in the country. We're seeing Kenya has emerged as a connectivity hub, and we're seeing that a lot of the global cloud players are starting to come to Kenya now with data center presences, edge nodes, and it won't be long before we see a very large hyperscale company come to Kenya. The infrastructure is ready, the data centers in Kenya are ready for that, networks there to support it, and the market is ready to support it. Users in Kenya, including government, are there to be able to consume hyperscale cloud services. But then just on this, a final point really is that in consuming cloud services, a key feature of cloud is, it's OpEx based, and you pay what you use. And this may require governments to think about their procurement processes. Often procurement processes are fixed to a tender processes, and you say, yes, we will consume this, we will use this for the next 4 years. But when you are just paying what you use, this how many CPUs you use, you might want to think about a different model. In a procurement process, it's not necessarily a fixed tender, fixed price. You're using as you grow. So we need some flexibility and thought about the procurement process for consumption-based OpEx services. But the last thing I want to pick upon is cybersecurity and data protection. The picture on the right is what we are calling a human firewall. So it is a row of people there, and they're stopping hackers from getting into the network. Now, as people are more working from home, and we're seeing more people accessing cloud-based systems from anywhere on the go, it is very important that the workforce in the government are following the right processes of not sharing their passwords and other such things. When you see the phishing attacks, reporting these to IT, and not just clicking on links. These are the types of things that are very important. We can't have government services being compromised, and the most easy way for government cloud services to be compromised is at the employee, who may have accidentally clicked on something, or maybe even be a malicious insider who is trying to do something strange. I think that we've heard about some hacking attempts at Kenya Revenue Authority where somebody had taken a device into the office. I think we've read about that in the press. So your workforce is your first line of defense against your network. And certainly in Liquid Telecom, we're helping customers, train up their workforce. We have a platform for training up the workforce on how to spot cyber attacks coming at you. And then we also run simulated attacks. So we're simulating phishing attacks to see how people work. And if they click on those things, then we retrain them. So we have a platform and product around this. We're helping many banks and other people with this type of thing. But some services are so critical that you want to have extra security, and you don't want to have people being able to cut and paste data out of systems. So government systems that are secure like this, are one way that we can allow them to work from home, work from anywhere, is around using things like remote desktop services. Or virtual desktops or remote desktop services, Citrix, these type of applications. This can make a secure link between the device that your worker is using back to the government cloud. I think this again is a large feature of the government Conza data center, that they have remote desktop infrastructure there, so that offices all over the country can, or even people working from home, can access securely the government services. So I think that would be for me, the conclusion today. I hope that I hope it's useful. I think we want to just really think about what are the reasons and what are the ways to do government cloud, and I hope that's useful. And thank you for your time.